Hey everybody, it's Renee from Simply Snapping Mom. Today we're going to talk about improving your photography when you're taking pictures of your kids doing sports or activities. So if you've tried to take pictures of your kids doing high movement activities before, like playing soccer or even just running around outside, you've noticed that you have to have the settings right on the camera or you have to have the right gear to make sure you're getting the best pictures. So I have a couple of tips for you today and I'll show you some examples. First, I'm going to talk about the lens I use. So for most of my pictures, I use my 50mm lens. But if I'm taking pictures of my kids playing activities outside, I swap out my lens. I have a lens here I got. It was not very expensive. It's a Tamron, and it is a 70 to 300mm lens. I'm going to snap this onto my camera here. You can see I can zoom in a lot. I'm going to show you a picture right here of my son playing soccer. In the past, when I would take pictures of him playing soccer and I was almost a half of a length of a field away, you could hardly see him. And when I would after try to zoom in on the picture to crop it, it was blurry because it just wasn't made for taking pictures like that. I'm going to show you a couple pictures here of when I use my zoom lens, my 70 to 300mm lens. You can see that even though I am far away from the subject, I can get great clear pictures with little blur. Another thing to keep in mind anytime you're doing action shots is your camera's shutter speed setting. The shutter speed setting will determine the movement blur. So if you are using a slow shutter speed, that means that your camera lens is open for a long time to take a picture. It's letting in a lot of light, but it's going to capture a lot of movement blur. So anytime you're taking action shots or sports or kids moving, you want to make sure to use a fast shutter speed. In my camera, if I'm in manual mode, I move this dial to adjust the shutter speed. I usually use a shutter speed of about 1/500 if I can, anytime I'm taking pictures of my kids doing outdoor activities where they'll be running around. So on the other hand, obviously you want to use a fast shutter speed. However, there's times when that is a little challenging. So for example, if you're taking pictures when it's kind of dark outside, or if you're taking pictures of indoor photos, it's hard to have a shutter speed that fast. Because as I said before, when you use a really fast shutter speed, your camera lens is only open for a short period of time, so it's not letting in a lot of light. So then you have to play around with other settings. It's really helpful to know the settings in your camera if you're going to be taking any pictures, especially action shots. So if you haven't yet, take a look at some of my other videos where I explain the camera basics, such as the depth of field and shutter speed and ISO. But if you already are familiar with some of these terms, when you're taking pictures indoor, you still have to focus on having that higher shutter speed. So you might have to increase your ISO or lower your aperture to make sure you can use the shutter speed that you need. Here are some examples of when I took indoor photos and I had to change my other settings so that I could still use a fast shutter speed. Lastly, I want to talk about my new toy, which is my son's Gopro Hero. I absolutely love this video camera. It is small, fits right in my purse. It is extremely durable. We use this at the swimming pool. We toss it anywhere. It is so durable, and that's why I love it. So I use this to videotape him playing sports also. It's very easy to use. You can do things such as lapse photos, burst mode. I take videos of it. It has a really wide angle, so you could tape very close. You can get an entire, for example, field in the view of the camera. And also it does really great, I feel like, with low light situations. So last year, I'm going to just show you a video that I took of my son at his wrestling match, which was in a really low lit room. And we cherish these. We think they're fun to watch. And I really recommend the GoPro. about today. If you're taking pictures of your kids doing activities or you're taking any kind of action shots, you want to, number 1, make sure you have an appropriate lens. Number 2, make sure you're using the correct camera settings, most importantly, paying attention to shutter speed. And lastly, we talked about the fun of having a video camera too to really capture some of those memories. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you're interested in more photography tips, head on over to my blog or follow me on Facebook or Pinterest. Thanks. Bye-bye.